back to NASCAR Coast to Coast here on the Motor Racing Network. I'm Hannah Newhouse, joined as always by my co-host Kyle Rickey, and it's been a busy week of racing already at the New Smyrna Speedway, where Speed Weeks is underway for the World Series. Already a couple nights of racing action behind us, plenty more on tap that we'll get to cover. But before we get into the racing action, first and foremost, we want to send our thoughts and prayers to the family of Rusty Cruz, who was a longtime member of New Smyrna Speedway, unfortunately passed away this past weekend. We want to send our thoughts and prayers, and all of the racing family is thinking of the Cruz family during this tough time. Kyle, before we get into it, though, there's been a couple of days of racing that have happened already at the New Smyrna Speedway. We've seen multiple winners across the Pro Late Model, the Super Late Model platform, and we still have 5 more days left to go out at the short track.
Yeah, it's been a busy week, and I want to first off echo your sentiment to the Rusty Cruz family. Unfortunately, passed away Monday night to start or I guess it was Saturday night to start the race week, and trying to do the right thing, break up an altercation in the pits, and unfortunately had a medical event in the process. Racing did continue, and it has been wild ever since they started. This past Friday night was the first feature. Super Late Models got 1 lap into their main event and wadded up most of the field. Luckily, Ryan Moore was ahead of it all to claim the race win. Took out a lot of top contenders. Cody Swanson was involved in the incident. Bubba Pollard, who a lot of people expected to maybe not dominate down here, but at least contend for wins. And that's something really we haven't seen yet this week. Night number 2, last year's champion, Derek Griffith, picked up the win. And on Sunday night, it was Sammy Smith claiming the race win, driving for Donnie Wilson Motorsports, his first win with that team after parting ways with Kyle Busch Motorsports last year. So an eventful week, as you mentioned, a busy week. That included as we tape this, the ARCA Menards East Series season opener last night, a very eventful finish that took a while to get to. And the Tour Modifieds opened their season, 44 cars on property, and because of time constraints, most of them started the race.
Yeah, it was definitely an eventful night. At one point, Kyle and I were texting during the ARCA East race. It was the Jeep Beach 175, and about halfway through, it'd pretty much gone green. They were getting ready to do the halfway break, and Kyle and I were already trying to plan getting the winner on board here. It looked like it was going to be a sweep by either Sammy Smith or Taylor Gray, and then it all just went out the window at that point. Of course, the halfway break came through. A lot of frustrations, and we'll talk about that later. A lot of frustrations with some of the teams and drivers, with some officiating that was done at the halfway break. But beyond that as well, rain. Mother Nature couldn't let us get 4 more laps in. Red flag was thrown 4 laps to go into this ARCA race. And I'll be quite honest with you, I had to catch the replay this morning because I waited and waited. The Bachelor was on. We were also watching USAC from Bubba. Our streaming services were simply just tapped at the moment. But to watch this morning, that 3 wide last corner pass there, I got to give it to Max Gutierrez, who ended up winning this race for Rhett Jones Racing. He did the perfect maneuver in the sense that he had every opportunity to sit back and potentially watch both Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray wreck each other, because in turn 4, one was moving the other, but instead he capitalized on the opportunity, and he did it very elegantly. I don't think he even touched the other 2 cars, but just capitalized on these 2's last attempt here at the win, got the momentum, and essentially got the win for the season opener in the ARCA East Series. Very exciting. We usually see that here at New Smyrna, Kyle. Usually the last 5 laps of the ARCA East race are pretty intense.
Yeah, for the last 5 years or so, I feel like it has come down right to the final lap, but not quite like last night. Unfortunately, like you mentioned, delayed because of rain. It took well over an hour to dry the racetrack. The rain delay came with 4 laps to go in the event. It was well worth the wait, but unfortunately, it was a late day. It was a long day for those teams that practiced in the early afternoon, qualified in the late afternoon, and then started the race at a little after 7:30 last night. The race got done after 10, I think, because then the Tour Modifieds came on at 11, and then their race went till 12:30, a little after 12:30. So a long late day, but great run for Mexico City, Mexico native Max Gutierrez picking up the win. Great move, passing Sammy Smith and Taylor Gray. Bottom of the racetrack, 3 wide. The hole was there. He filled it nicely to pick up his first win.
Yeah, that win for Rhett Jones Racing. We'll talk to his teammate Brittany Zamora here a little bit later to preview this upcoming weekend's ARCA Menards race as she takes the high banks of Daytona. But to talk about that modified race, Kyle, again, didn't start till almost 10:30, 11 o'clock. I know they'd been sitting around most of the day waiting. Obviously, we had the rain delay, and it was like all of the frustration, the anticipation. There was supposed to be a B main. They said, nope, we're just going to add some of the field to this A main, let them go. Carnage that included John McKennedy, Anthony Nacella, Ryan Preece, which from what I heard came from a car that was stopped maybe at the bottom of the racetrack, and McKennedy saw it, Nacella and Preece didn't. Wadded up a bunch of cars. Ultimately, there's some great audio clips out there on NASCAR Roots social media of some of the interviews with some of those guys. But it was Craig Lutz ultimately capturing that first win of the Tour Modifieds from New Smyrna Speedway. He won over Matt Hirschman, Ron Silk, Doug Toby. We talked about it, made the trip down to New Smyrna this year. Comes home in that fourth spot over Burt Myers. They still have plenty of racing left this week as well. So a couple guys going to be hitting the racetrack early probably today to get some work done on those cars.
Yeah, 4 more nights of racing. Unfortunately, a lot of tore up equipment last night and early this morning. But we have the Richie Evans 100 coming up on Friday night. John Blewett, the third Memorial event on Wednesday night, the 76 lapper there. So 2 of the marquee events for the Tour Type Modified still on deck this week at New Smyrna. And yeah, it was a weird deal. They were going to run 2 features last night. 26, I believe, were supposed to be in the main event, the 50 lapper for the modifieds. And then when the rain delay happened in the ARCA race, you just can't tell the other 20 guys, okay, just kidding, we're not going to do the B main, go home. So they added them to the field. And I know there was talk earlier this week that track was going to start everybody, and some drivers like Doug Covey expressed his concerns with that. And I think we saw a little bit last night why we shouldn't probably start 35. I think 35 took the green last night. You know, anything more than 26 makes it a very crowded racetrack at New Smyrna Speedway.
So that being said, we are going to take a quick break here. Again, you can watch all that action from New Smyrna on Track Pass all weekend long, NBC Sports Gold. Take a look at it. We're going to take a quick break, though, and then we're going to dial up Brittany Zamora to talk a little bit more ARCA racing here after the break.
Whelan Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights. Whelan also produces white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelan product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on-site to meet the toughest industry certifications. Whelan Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, trusted to perform since 1952.
Well, with the ARCA Menards East Series opener behind us at New Smyrna Speedway, time to pivot our focus forward to the ARCA Menards Series as they take on the high banks of Daytona Speedway this up-and-coming weekend. And joining us now here on NASCAR Coast to Coast is Brittany Zamora, who is making her debut here up on the high banks of Daytona. First off, Brittany, thanks for taking some time out of your busy week here to hang out with us on NASCAR Coast to Coast.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Looking forward to watching you make your debut. You got together with Rhett Jones Racing. First and foremost, how did this all come together to get the opportunity to race at the most, coveted race at Daytona for a race car driver, but also to get the chance to race in the ARCA Menards Series?
Yeah, so I raced full-time back in the ARCA Series back in 2019, so it's something that I'm familiar with, and it is Daytona out of all places, so a lot of drivers dream of racing here, as I have, so it's definitely a dream come true in that aspect. We have a partnership with Square One Flex and Rhett Jones Racing that for this one race, and I'm really excited to go out there, see what we can do together.
Now, you were able to test here a couple of weeks ago. There were a ton of drivers at the Speedway during that 2-day ARCA preseason test. What'd you learn, and then what'd you think about your first laps around the Daytona High Banks?
Yeah, it was a good opportunity to go out there and have that test before you go out there and race, so you have an idea of what to expect. It was really fun. Friday we did basically single car runs. So I just went out by myself, got a feel for the line, the track, the car, the speed, everything like that. And then Saturday we did some drafting, just some small groups of us, and that was fun. We all took turns in the middle, back, and front of the pack. So you got a feel of like what each position is like when you're in the draft, and did some side drafting, all that kind of stuff. Because I've never done that before. I've only done short track racing. Like the longest track I've been on is a mile. So it was a really cool experience for me to have, and I think it's going to be really important going into this weekend having that behind me.
Now, you and I were texting last night during again, we do record this on Tuesday, guys, but Brittany and I were texting last night between the ending, or what was eventually going to be the ending of the ARCA East race after that rain delay, and your teammate, essentially, Max Gutierrez, captured that win with Rhett Jones Racing. Is there any of those team members that are also on your team, and does that, knowing that, you've seen your team, the equipment, just now capture a win also down in Florida, does that boost your confidence at all going into the weekend?
Oh, definitely. It was really exciting. I got to meet Max and his family last night. I got to meet some of the team members before at the shop. So the same team will be helping me in Daytona, and just it was like kind of funny because we were there and there was like 5 laps left and we had a rain delay, and it was probably a good 30 minutes, if not more. And so we were like, oh, we went out, there was like 1 lane dry. So we're like, they're not going to race these guys. So we started leaving in the parking lot. You could hear the cars fire back up. So we go back in, and I got to watch, my teammate win and the team celebrate. It was really cool. I know they're a great team and great equipment, but it just like makes you that much more confident in what we can do this coming Saturday.
It's no doubt a good way to start the week, and hopefully that momentum carries over for you this coming Saturday. What are your goals for Saturday? What are some of the expectations now with very limited practice now before we go racing Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, that's a tough one because I feel like anything can happen at Daytona. You could go out there and you could wreck the first lap, or you could go out there and you could win the race. If anybody, it's up to anybody at that point. So I'm just gonna go out there, have a good time, have fun, gain as much experience as I can. I have a great team and a great spotter behind me and a great sponsor. So, I feel like I have all the tools I need to be successful. So go out there and do my job and, keep luck on our side. I feel like Daytona is a lot about luck. So if you can have that, then we'll have a good day. And I just want to be competitive and have a good time.
And now I want to circle back here on that to your short track racing roots. 2-time champion in the Northwest Super Late Model Series. You ran on the ARCA Menards West Series, as you said as well, with some good finishes there. Recently, you've kind of, in the last year or two, turned that focus, obviously, over to the East Coast. You did get to run some ARCA Menards East Series. I guess it was still K&N East, I believe, at the time, including Bristol, the All-American 400 last year. And one thing I want to touch on with you is we both come from the West Coast, essentially. You from Washington State. And one of the things we always hear out there is the racing community, you get in these series, and it's almost like you can be a big fish in a small pond. And I don't want to knock, obviously, the competition out on the West Coast, because that is not the case whatsoever. But you get out here to the East Coast, and it's almost like I feel like things get real. You realize the people that you're racing in front of, an example of Daytona. You're racing in front of these cup teams. Do you feel the pressure, A, to represent the West Coast out here? And what is that like to come to that realization of, wow, being out here on the East Coast is a little bit of a different beast, am I right?
Yeah, it is. You go back to the West Coast and you have such strong fields, and I think it's a great place to start your career and work your way up through the levels. I have those championships and I have the wins and everything like that, and so I feel like now it's time to kind of take the next step, and that's bringing me out here. And kind of like what you said, you're representing the West Coast. When I came out for the All-American 400 and now for Daytona, not a lot of people, from where I'm at in Washington especially, get the opportunity to do stuff like this. So I know I have West Coast support behind me. They're being really supportive. I'm getting a bunch of messages and a lot of social media support. So that's pretty cool to go out here and, have them with you, supporting you along the way. So I think it's time for us to venture out to that next step, and this is what it is.
What's the schedule look like for you beyond this weekend in Daytona? Any more events hoped to be planned for the ARCA Menards Series this year?
Yeah, of course. I have the whole list of all these races I want to do, of course, just like any other driver. It's just kind of tentative right now based off the sponsorship, because we could go run a full series back on the West Coast with my super late model, but kind of tracking back to wanting to get out to more ARCA races, more higher level series in NASCAR. I'd love to go race the 400 again, do some races at National Fairgrounds. So it's all tentative right now based on sponsorship, but we're working hard for it.
And last question here, based on sponsorship, I'll give you a moment here to highlight, not necessarily a sponsor, but a foundation kind of that you've put together, Pit Road Pals. Obviously something near and dear to my heart. If anyone knows me, they know that my second love to race cars is dogs. And so you put together this program, I believe, a couple years ago, and I'm going to give you a second here to emphasize what Pit Road Pals really is.
Yes, I'm really proud of it. You can see it on the sleeve here, Pit Road Pals. I started it actually a year ago in Daytona, and what we do is I started an organization. So we go and promote animals and rescuing them and just their overall wellness. So at every race I go to, whether I'm racing or I'm not, we'll do an animal shelter visit. We'll tour them, see the facility. I bring a bag of treats and toys, and I do what's called Brittany's Pick of the Litter. So we'll advocate for one of the animals, cats, dogs, that has been there for a long time, needs a little bit extra help being seen. One of the dogs that we did here last year had been here for like years. So giving us being able to promote that animal and find them a good home is just near and dear in our heart. And like you said, I have 4 rescues of mine at home. So anything I can do to help them is what we're out to do.
Absolutely love it. Brittany, again, we'll let you get going here. I know you've got a week ahead of you getting ready to hit the high banks. We appreciate your time and best of luck this weekend. I'm looking forward to watching it on FS1 on Saturday afternoon. It's going to be an exciting one.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Again, that is Brittany Zamora racing on the high banks of Daytona in the ARCA Menard Series this up and coming weekend. You can catch it all on FS1, 1:30 p.m. Eastern start for that race, the Lucas Oil 200 driven by General Tire. But when we return here on NASCAR Coast to Coast, we will have your Wheelin' All-American or your Wheelin' Engineering Wheelin' Modified Tour Series Spotlight.
Sir, are you aware you were going 40 miles an hour? This is a residential area.
Sure, but I'm on my lawnmower? Wait, am I getting a ticket?
No, I've just never seen anyone top 9 miles an hour on one of those bad boys. And mow their entire lawn in 30 seconds? What got into you?
Well, it did fuel up at Sunoco this morning.
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
This week's NASCAR Wheelin' Engineering Modified Spotlight showcases the history of the modifieds at the New Smyrna Speedway and the World Series of Asphalt Racing. NASCAR's oldest division is also one of the oldest to compete during the week-long marathon of short-track racing at New Smyrna. The division debuted at the 9th Annual World Series in 1976, with New York modified ace Maynard Troyer winning the first ever New Smyrna modified title, just 1 year before founding his modified chassis company, Troyer Engineering. Other champions those early years included Ron Bouchard, Greg Sachs, Reggie Ruggiero, and NASCAR Hall of Famer Richie Evans, who won 6 World Series titles at New Smyrna before his untimely passing at the Martinsville Speedway in the fall of 1985. Ever since, a 100-lap race has been run during the week in honor of Evans. Matt Hirschman has won the last 2 Richie Evans 100s. This year's edition will be run this Friday night, February 12th. While Evans dominated the early years, it was the late Ted Christopher that has the most World Series modified titles, claiming the top prize 10 times from 1998 to 2011. More recently, NASCAR Cup Series star and former NASCAR Wheelin' Modified Tour champion Ryan Preece has found success on the New Smyrna Oval, winning the 2015, 2016, and 2017 titles, while Chuck Hosfeld won in 2019, and big money Matt Hirschman claimed his first New Smyrna championship in 2018 and backed it up with his second title a year ago. Hirschman and Preece are among the over 40 drivers entered this week at New Smyrna, all looking to add their name to the record books as champion at the World Series of Racing.
Whelan Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, designs and manufactures reliable and powerful warning lights. Whelan also produces white illumination lighting, sirens, controllers, and high-powered warning systems for automotive, aviation, and mass notification industries worldwide. Every part of every Whelan product is proudly designed and manufactured in America and is tested on-site to meet the toughest industry certifications. Whelan Engineering, a global leader in the emergency warning industry, trusted to perform since 1952.
Before we get into talking to some more details about that ARCA Menards race, the Lucas Oil 200 this past weekend, Kyle, there was some action down at Florence Speedway for the first time in quite some time.
Yeah, the annual Icebreaker event, which was previously held at the Myrtle Beach Speedway in South Carolina. Unfortunately, that track has been well documented. What?
I said R.I.P. to poor Myrtle Beach.
Oh, R.I.P.
Yes.
Yeah. R.I.P. to Myrtle Beach Speedway. Yeah, track closed. So moved to Florence. Chad McCumbee picked up the race win less than a week after finishing 10th in the Grand Sport class down here in Daytona during the Michelin Pilot Challenge race, the BMW endurance event that was, I believe, 4 hours long. So kicked off Rolex weekend with a win on the road course here in Daytona, and then went back up north a couple of states to finish in a late model and pick up the race win, one of the bigger season openers now down here in the South for that division, held off to Josh Berry to claim the win. Bobby McCarty, Matt Cox, and Caden Honeycutt rounded out the top five there at Florence.
Yeah, and there's plenty more racing. We've talked about it this whole show. This up-and-coming week, as far as World Series, still has about 4 to 5 nights left of racing, including some prestigious races with the Tour Type Modifieds down there. And you can watch all of that on Track Pass, again, on NBC Sports Gold. They'll have lots going on. Also, again, that ARCA race at Daytona for the Lucas Oil 200. 34 cars entered. Quite the mixture of a field. We've got 3 females, actually, in the field, Kyle, between Tony Brandinger. We've got Brittney, Zamora, and Gracie Trotter all racing the high banks, which is really cool. Again, Ty Gibbs announced that he is full-time, I believe, right, in the ARCA Menards series.
Yep.
You hate to say it, but that's one to watch. Like, Ty Gibbs led the most laps, I believe, of the ARCA Menards series last year and only ran part-time there. But a couple other drivers, Brett Holmes coming back after a championship chase there, winning Derek Griffith as well. One of our short trackers from the Northeast made some part-time starts last year in the ARCA Menards East series. Now I think kind of chasing potentially a full-time ARCA Menards schedule. So a lot of drivers on there, and drivers like Brittany, that this is potentially a one-off, looking for more opportunities, but a lot of drivers, I think, approach this race with the hope of getting that win, getting that top 3, turning heads, because you can go perform well at Daytona. That's the sponsorship allure that comes with it.
Yeah, getting that win, having a good top 5 run, getting the spotlight. The race is going to be obviously live on television, live here on the Motor Racing Network, and in a good run, a race win or a top 5 finish could extend a lot of these drivers' seasons. Like Brittany, she has a good run on Saturday afternoon. You never know. We might see her at a couple more races here in the next month or so as the ARCA Menards series season, really kicks off. And it all starts here in Daytona, and like she said, a luck comes down to a lot of it, and we've seen a lot of seasons change and shift, and because drivers in the right place at the right time at the end of some of these ARCA races.
Yep, absolutely, and definitely jealous, Kyle. I saw you. I'm going to assume it was maybe some orange juice because I won't throw you under the bus here. Kyle's obviously already down in Florida with the change of scenery. If you watch us here on our Facebook platform and digital platform. No backdrop, already at the hotel here in Daytona Beach. You've got a busy week ahead of you. Bummed that I'm not going to be there. I know you're going to miss me, since you only get to see me digitally every single week. But busy week ahead for you, and you get to hang out with Dylan.
Always.
I'm so jealous. Like, I never thought I would say that, but I'm so jealous.
Yeah, we might have they apparently have like a video game suite here at the hotel we stay at. And, it hasn't been the nicest out here in Daytona. It rained a bunch yesterday, as we saw last night at New Smyrna. The fog very thick right now here on the beach side, and I'm not sure how it is over on the speedway side of things, but Dylan and I don't think we're working qualifying tomorrow night, so we might try to get in that video game suite and see what that's about. Big day tomorrow.
Yeah, looking forward to the shenanigans again, guys. Track Pass all week long. From New Smyrna, that ARCA race on FS1 and MRN 130 on Saturday for the Lucas Oil 200. We'll have all of the recap here on NASCAR Coast to Coast next week. Kyle will be back in good old cold Connecticut, not quite back from the beach of New Smyrna. Bring some sand, bring some heat up this way, Kyle. Hopefully it stays nice and dry for you guys all week. But we will chat to you guys next week here on NASCAR Coast to Coast. For Hannah Newhouse, Kyle, Rickey, and producer Alexa Henry, and we will talk to you guys next week.